Karen,
Yes.
let's test your knowledge of will.
Oh boy.
What is the number one thing I've always wanted to do?
Astral project.
Astral project. That's right.
That and eat unlimited cake.
Well, we need to get someone about cake. No, this one's about astral projection. It's
Mhm.
that all elusive skill set that I've been trying to gain forever.
Yes.
Well, I think today we're going to solve it.
Woo!
Yep. This episode is all about astral projection. What is it really? What are the benefits of leaving your body? And most of all, how to do it step by step.
Nice.
Yep. We're diving into the easiest way to master out of the body travel. Welcome to another episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey everyone, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
We are your guides of this journey of discovery. Today we've got a special treat. Florentine Ionita is an astral projection teacher and explorer who has created the world's most complete astral projection program, the Astral Projection Accelerator Program. He's helped hundreds of students achieve out-of-body experiences with the help of this systematic training methodology, and I could not be more excited to talk to him today. Florentine, thanks for being on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So we've got a lot to talk about, and I know Karen's going to tell you that I can talk about this stuff forever. So I'm going to try to keep it as concise as I can and let you speak for a little bit. But first, let's set the table so that everyone is on the same page. Astral projection, out-of-body experiences, what exactly is it? There's a lot of misconceptions out there, right? So let's put some of those misconceptions to rest.
Okay, great. So that's a good place to start because there is a lot of misconceptions. So the first one is the idea that we are leaving our bodies and that our body is going to be empty and that someone's going to take over the body maybe, or something's going to happen to the body. And there's a fear there, maybe that we're not able to come back if we travel somewhere. There's all this whole idea of separating from the body kind of thing. And although it feels like we are moving away from the body, that we're leaving the body in a strange way when we're doing it, I think the truth is more like we are not in our bodies in the first place. Our consciousness is not in our brain. Our consciousness is beyond this dimension in the first place. And it's projecting itself to our physical body to have a human experience. And then when we ask to project, it's basically our consciousness projecting itself somewhere else in a different reality. That will be what an astral projection is. So you can also be in multiple places at the same time. So you can be occupying your physical body while you're doing this practice, aware of the physical body. And at the same time, you can be aware of a completely different reality as well. You can have multiple parallel projections, so to speak.
Okay, so if someone coming into this topic cold, you just dropped about 15 bombs
Wow, that sounds exhausting.
in less than 2 minutes. So let's take it back for a second. You mentioned that the consciousness does not reside in the body. Then you're talking, of course, about the theory that our consciousness is not developed by a brain, but rather it lives outside of our brain. And our brain is actually just a filter that allows us to live in this three-dimensional body. It's a super interesting thought, and one that I've talked about and thought about a lot, because the thought of projecting our consciousness into our bodies through the use of our brains is intriguing, and it opens up a lot of possibilities in the quantum realm. If this resonates with you, then this conversation is going to be an easy one for you. If it doesn't resonate with you, then we have got some work to do, first and foremost. So then you are also talked about being in multiple places at one time. At that point, now you're talking about the fact that we are an infinite being. Also, the quantum physics thought that there is no time, that all time is happening simultaneously. So that could be something along those lines. So trying to catch up those that aren't as versed in some of these concepts. If someone doesn't resonate with some of these concepts, for lack of a better word, is astral projection completely out of bounds for them?
No. So there's like two different beliefs that you can have with this. You can believe that, like I was just like saying before, that consciousness is beyond the body, beyond the brain, and you can therefore travel to different realities that are outside of you. Or you can believe that consciousness is in your brain and that everything that's happening to you is always in your mind, in your imagination, that kind of stuff. And that's okay. You can have that belief and you can still astral project. You can still have these experiences, and then you can kind of make what you want out of it. You can believe that, oh, that was just some type of dream, or that was happening in my mind. It's okay. You can have that belief. And I think a lot of people do have that belief in the beginning. I think it's healthy to have the belief of maybe this is all just a illusion or a dream or imagination and whatever. And then you have that belief, you have that skeptic kind of mindset, but you still have an open mindset with that because you are willing to try this out for yourself. So you start with the practice, you start doing the actual work, and you start having experiences. And then through that journey of experience, you start to shift your belief system. You start to have experiences that maybe you won't be able to explain with that theory that it's all in your mind. Because maybe you will have an experience where you see something outside of your room, maybe your neighbor's roof, that you have never seen before. And then you go out in the physical the next day, you check out the roof and you see actually the same thing. Things like this happen all the time, or that people go to people's houses and they overhear a conversation and they can come back and then recall exactly what happened and tell that friend, like, I saw you having this conversation with this person in these clothes. Is that true? Like, yes, that happened. And those are those kind of confirmations, personal confirmations that then take your experience, your perception of reality to another level where you start to expand what you believe is true about this reality and about yourself and about the universe. And it's kind of the whole purpose of this is to take you on that journey of truth, where you start to unravel more of what reality is and what you are and what is going on. And so it's totally okay to have that belief in the beginning that everything is that happening out here. It's totally okay. One of the main questions I get from people when it comes to this topic is why? Why would you do this? Why would you leave your body and go into different dimensions? And what's the point? Like, are you crazy? Like, so for you, and for you didn't actually ask me that question because it's so clear to you why. And I wanted to ask you why. Why do you want to astral project? Why do you think this is something that you would?
That's a great question. For me, it's a way of validating that this stuff is all real. So in the show open, you'll hear we talk about the fact that we're like Mulder and Scully. We really want to believe, but I'm the kind of mindset that I have to feel it. I have to sense it, taste it, touch it, right? I've got to know it's real before I can just full on believe it. And I got that when I became a Reiki practitioner. I did feel these energies, which then led me to think, okay, if this is real, then there's bound to be other things out there that are real as well, but it's eluding me. So I figured if I can astral project, and if it's as real as you're saying, like as palpable as it's not a dream state kind of real, then that is going to prove without a shadow of a doubt for me that this stuff is real. So that's my why. That's why I've always wanted to astral project.
So for you, it's confirmation that this stuff is real.
Correct.
And it's very much the same for me. I'm very much like you. Like, I need to have the experience to believe something. I can't just like believe in everything. And that's kind of the whole purpose with astral projection specifically. It's like, don't believe what people tell you. Don't read books about all kinds of stuff. Go ahead and just have the experience yourself. Learn how to do it. Find out for yourself, because the difference between believing something and knowing something, experiencing something is massive. It's a completely different territory. There's one thing to believe that you might continue after physical death. There might be an afterlife. Your uncle that died might be somewhere out there, and knowing through experience. It's a very different state of mind.
Right.
So, think about how that would feel to have that knowing through your personal experience. It's a very different experience.
And if someone wasn't motivated like I am about confirmation, I think you alluded to earlier that there are certain benefits to astral projection. Can you share some of those with us?
Yes. So to me, astral projection is a tool for spiritual evolution. It's a tool to discover your spiritual essence. And I think when you are in the spiritual community, you learn about these different topics and you find out that, oh, you are not a physical body, human being. You're something more. You're something beyond this. The question comes up, like, what am I? What am I more than this? And how can I experience this? And this will be the way to experience this. And you can experience this stuff with psychedelics. You can take different substances, but that's a completely different thing. And it's usually maybe a bit more intense and not many people are ready for that. This stuff is very smooth. It like I said before, you will take you to places that you're ready for. So it's a smooth journey that you can go on and start finding out about your essence, who you are, what you are, about the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a tool to connect with somebody that has passed away, that has basically left from this physical realm and gone into a different realm. You can connect with them. And we have students that do that all the time. And I mean, seeing a student that had lost their loved one, connecting with them in the astral and then having the talk with them afterwards and seeing how happy they are and how it's amazing because it's such a healing experience to be able to talk to somebody that you love, that you think you've lost, but then you find out that you haven't lost and they're still there. And this is a tool for that, to connect with somebody like that.
Yeah,
and then of course is the connecting with spiritual guides, which is a big one as well. Many people want to connect with their spiritual guides that knows everything about them and get guidance on their life on what to do. We have one student called Ashwin. He found out his life purpose with the help of his guides. And this is one of those super important things to do, which is one of those keystones, things that you want to do as well. Like you want to connect with your spiritual guide to get guidance, to get help to navigate the astral, because you won't know where to go, but they will know and they can help you.
It seems like a no-brainer to me.
That's more of my motivation. I don't need the proof because I do believe it, but I feel like it's something we're supposed to do to become more. And that's what I want.
Right. So in your estimation, Florentin, do you think eventually everyone will get to the point where they do this regularly? Is this part of our spiritual evolution then?
I really believe that. I really believe that this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to evolve our consciousness constantly and understand what we are and what we are not, and understand the truth about this reality, right? So that's kind of ultimately what it is. It's about understanding the bigger picture. And with that comes great peace, great healing, the more, I think for you guys too, the more you find out, the more kind of amazed you become about what's happening. And the more love comes from that, from knowing the bigger truth. And so I think it's definitely a part of our evolution to go on this journey of truth and expansion.
So you said that some people might think, well, was that a dream? So kind of expanding on that. Sometimes when you sleep, you have these dreams that are just incredible and seem incredibly vivid, like you are right there. I mean, could you be, I guess, while you're sleeping, astral projecting and not on accident, but like not intentionally doing it, but is it something that can just happen?
Yes, that's something that happens actually to like 10% of the population. People have these spontaneous out-of-body experiences. And for the most part, they freak out because they don't know what's happening. And it's very scary if you don't know that this is possible. If you start leaving your body, you might think you're dying. You might think something weird is happening. And then also it happens a lot in our sleep. When we're sleeping, we have more unconscious experiences for the most part. We might not remember them, or we might remember some pieces, maybe that we were flying and we saw a village or something, but we come back from that experience and always kind of disregard it to be a dream, but sometimes it could actually be something more than a dream. But I think the best way to do this is to describe what's the difference between a dream and an astral projection, because of the lines are kind of blurry.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to ask, if someone's freaking out because they do this in their sleep and suddenly they freak out because they feel they're dying, it must feel different, because that's always been my big thing, right? Is it me just dreaming or using my imagination and feeling like I'm leaving my body? Like, does it feel, are there physical sensations when you leave your body? Do you feel the wind whistling through your hair as you're flying through the night? Or is it really just a mental projection?
Great question. So that's why people freak out, because it's so real. They don't even know that they don't even know that they're out of body. A lot of times I have students, when they go out of body, they actually think they are standing in their room physically. And so they leave their body and they're like, oh, I'm still physically standing in my room. Oh, everything looks the same. They go back to the bed and then they wake up and then they realize, oh my God, that I was out of body just now, but it was so real that I thought it was physical reality.
Okay.
So it's that level of realism. And sometimes people report that it's even more real than their physical experience.
Okay. So that's encouraging to me, because you talk to people and they're like, oh, it's just like it's in your imagination. And to me, it's kind of a cop out if I'm not feeling it, right? If I don't feel something different, it feels like I'm not really astral projecting. So I'm hearing from you that it is indeed feels like you are physically somewhere else.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really insane. Like, I mean, it's only when you have it the first time that you can just like grasp what just happened. Because I remember for me, when I heard this as well, I was also a bit skeptic. I was also thinking, maybe these people are just imagining these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would go to different retreats, different workshops, meditation workshops, and I always meet these people that they always had this very interesting stuff happening for them when they're closing their eyes. They saw all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, I don't see anything. I think it's just, I'm not even, nothing is happening. And I was always wondering if these people are just kind of making things up or they're just imagining things.
Yeah, because people throw this stuff around all the time. Oh yeah, when I left my body, or it's such a buzzword. It's like everyone in this space is talking about astral projection or leave out of body experiences, like just throwing it around like if it was hotcakes. But that's what makes someone like me, who's been struggling, trying hard to do it for so long, get super frustrated and think, no, you guys are full of crap. This is not. It can't be real. So
yeah, totally. I mean, that's exactly what happens. If you tried for a while and you didn't get very far, then you're going to have all kinds of stories that you're going to tell yourself, like this is not real, or maybe you're going to have the limiting belief that I had, which is I'm not gifted enough to do this. I don't have the ability to do this. This is for special people. This is for someone that has meditated for 10 years.
Exactly.
And I'm not one of those people. So a lot of things can come like that. And that can also become a limiting belief, which blocks you from actually being able to do it, because now you're creating a belief system around it that you cannot do it, which is not helping you. So it's the moment that you have the experience is the moment that you truly go, okay, this is possible. And the experience is extremely real. It's very physical, and you can feel things. You can touch things with your hands. You can smell things. You can see things. You can hear things. Sometimes your hearing can be so enhanced that you can hear things that are really, really far away from the room that you're practicing in. Like, for example, if I do the practice in a city like London, I can get into a state where I start hearing conversations of lots of different conversations taking place, as if there's like people sitting in my room. And in the beginning, a lot of times, like, I actually got confused. I actually thought someone walked into my room. And so I took off my headphones and looked around like, what's happening here? Is someone coming into my room? There's nobody there, but it's so clear. The sound is so clear. And if I do it in a place that's like just nature around the area, I can hear birds and the river creaking, and like the sounds that will be in that environment, I hear very clearly, as if they're next to me. It's very, very interesting how our senses, when we get into these states, get very heightened beyond the physical possibility that we have with our physical senses.
So that's interesting, because sometimes when I dream, I can smell things or I can taste things. I just thought that was normal dreaming. I don't know. Will, do you smell and taste in your dreams? I've never asked you that.
I don't think I ever have. No, I don't smell or taste or, hear things.
Well, you got to hear things.
In a dream, it's less hearing it and more seeing it in my mind. Like, I know that there's someone saying something, but it's not like auditory.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think. At the same time, I also don't remember my dreams a lot. Very seldom do I remember my dreams.
So like when you have a dream that you're flying, you don't feel it? Like,
The only dreams I've had have been, and it's been a very long time since I had one of them, is falling. I've had dreams I've been falling, and that has been really
you wake up.
unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah, really unnerving. And now that I think about it, Florentine, could that have been an astral travel in my dreams? I mean, it feels like you feel, when you are on a roller coaster and you go down one of those
Drops.
the drops and you feel in your stomach, it kind of felt like that, believe it or not, in the dream. Could that possibly have been a projection?
Yeah. So I wanted to do this before as well, just to define what a dream would be and then what an astral projection would be, because they are cousins in a way. So the way I see it is that there are multiple dimensions, and they have different quality or different purpose as well. And so, to me, a dream is also a projection. Your consciousness is projecting itself into a reality, and you're now experiencing it as it is your only reality in that moment. But the dream space, this dimension of the dream, we call it the mental plane. It's kind of like it's a mixture of everything that everyone you meet. It's kind of your little simulated reality. You might see a picture and then you dream about that thing that was on that picture, and your thoughts are very much blended with that reality, and it's changing. It's very kind of liquidy. You can look at one direction, you see something, you look at the other one, then when you look back, the whole scenery has now changed. Maybe to a door changes to a window. It's not very solid. And usually in a dream, you'll have your childhood friends, maybe your family, maybe lots of familiar characters might be in that experience. And then a lucid dream would just be the fact that you become lucid, you become aware in the dream that you are dreaming, and then you can just see it for what it is. You can see it. Oh, I'm in a dream now. I'm in a dream reality, a dream dimension. Now, an astral projection or an etheric projection, or there's this other dimension you go to. When you go to those places, they'll have different, completely different. There'll be a different environment. It will not be the environment of your own creation. There will be an environment where you're meeting more objective realities. Places that exist, but on a different frequency of reality. And there, things usually are more solid. If you look, you see a building on the right, you look to the left, you look back, the building is still there. And you cannot just change the environment as you wish, like you can in a lucid dream, where you can kind of change colors of the walls, and you can, you kind of have this power over that experience, because it's your generated reality that you are experiencing, and you are also creating that reality, a lucid dream and a dream. But an astral projection, you're occupying a place that's occupied by other consciousness beings as well, and you cannot just change things as you want. Things are more solid, and a lot of times when you project yourself to these places, you end up on a street maybe that's just completely empty. There's nobody there. You have to kind of look around to find something to do. It can be a bit empty in the beginning, and to find maybe someone to talk to, or to figure out where you are. It's a bit like you're just being dropped in a different city, in a different world, or maybe in a forest, or there's countless places to go and visit.
And you bring up a good point. All these places you go, we've heard that you can go to astral school. We've heard that you can talk to God. We've heard that you can see past loved ones. Is this just a traveling of the mind? Is it you can go anywhere, or these are actual physical places that you go to?
Physical places. They're non-physical places that you go to. Maybe you can also go to physical places as well. There will just be a different shift of frequency. But for the most part, when we leave when we project our awareness out of our bodies, or in these different realms, the frequency that our consciousness is in that state is, it's usually a frequency that doesn't really, it's harder to be in a physical dimension. So it's harder for somebody to get into this physical realm with a non-physical body than there is for them to be in a non-physical realm.
I see. So it's not like I can go visit my daughter at school in an astral form and just kind of sit and watch her in school, or yes?
You can, just saying that it's a bit more unnatural and a bit more difficult for you to do that. versus to be in the astral, which is like completely your natural environment to be in when you are in this form, in this state of consciousness.
So when
So,
you're in one of those
yeah.
environments, is everybody else in there also astral projecting?
Yeah. So you might go, for the most part. Oh, this is a hard question because there's so many ways that this could take place.
Leave it to Karen to ask the hard questions.
Yeah, you could be, traveling out of body and visits. So I would say like this: some people naturally, as soon as they get out of body, they're like in their flats, they're in their house, they're like looking around, they're going through the wall, going out their neighborhood. They're seeing things in their physical reality very easily. They're like their energetic body has that frequency that it's kind of drawn to the physical a lot, and it's very easy for it to be there. While other explorers, when they go out of body, they always end up in a completely different reality. They're never in their surroundings, and it's kind of difficult for them to go to the physical world, so to speak. But you can go anywhere. Like, you can train yourself to go to different places, and we have the ability to do both. I think a good way to think about it, because we all have the internet nowadays, so we understand how there's different websites on the internet that you can access with your computer, and that there's a network that connects all of these websites. You can think about that in the same way with dimensions. You have multiple dimensions that there will be like same as a website. And then you have the network that connects the different websites, which is the quantum field, which connects all of these different dimensions. And then with your consciousness, you're able to travel to these different websites or dimensions. And there are countless of them. I mean, I don't know if we even know how many there are. There can be infinite amounts of different places to go to. And some of them are super evolved, they're in the future, they have like flying cars and technology we can't understand. And others might be super like primitive and haven't invented fire, and they're kind of, very confused. And there's everything.
Yeah. There are so many questions. I mean, so many questions. We are just getting started. When we come back, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to start talking to Florentin about potential dangers with astral projection, and then get into the nitty of how to do it. So stay with us. When we come back, you're not going to want to miss the rest of this interview. And we're back with the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Today, we're talking to Florentin Ionita, who is a master astral projector. He's a teacher who taught hundreds of people how to achieve out-of-body experiences. He's got a systematic training, a methodology that is surefire. So we are picking his brain about all things astral projections because, as you know, this is my favorite topic in the world. We talked a lot about what astral projection is and all that kind of stuff before the break. Now I want to get into the nitty, Florentin. First and foremost, I've read Bob Monroe's book, Journeys Out of the Body. And a lot of people who are listening know about the Monroe Institute and all the research that they've done with hemisync, which is syncing the two hemispheres of the brain, using binaural beats, all that kind of stuff. The CIA has a whole document now that you can look for it yourself. Right now, you can download it. The Gateway Project, it talks about hemisync and things like that to achieve out-of-body experiences. But in Bob Monroe's book, there's a part that made me very scared because he started talking about encounters with entities that maybe aren't the best things to run into in the astral plane. Is there anything that we should be afraid of when we first leave our bodies? You've already mentioned that no one's going to come over and take our bodies or anything, but are there any entities out there that we might get a little nerve-wracked over, demons or beings or astral beings that maybe don't want the best for us?
Okay. So first, what I would like to share is that when we project our awareness and we leave our bodies in this way, we are still going to be in a world of duality. We're not leaving duality anytime soon. We're still there. So of course, there's going to be darkness and light. There's going to be fear. There's going to be love. So there's going to be beings of lower vibrations and beings of high vibrations. There's going to be dimensions where there are weird creatures and sick people and all kinds of weird stuff going on. And there's going to be places that are full of light and love and beauty and amazing and profound. There's everything. Just like on the internet, you can go and you can find crazy websites and you can find beautiful websites.
What? You can?
Yeah. And just like in the physical reality, you can go to places that are very scary and dangerous. You can go to places that are beautiful and amazing. And it's interesting because sometimes I wonder, like, before we incarnated here, did we get any debrief from somebody what it's going to be like to have a human physical life? And if we did, how did that being describe it to us? It's interesting because I think even I'll believe that even, we will probably know a lot about this place before we come. And even though we know that there are crazy things going on here and you can get killed and there's wars and there's rape and there's so many bad things that can happen to you, we still choose to come here and experience a physical life because there's so much growth, there's so much potential to have this physical life. And so I see astral projection a bit like that too. There's everything out there, but there's so much amazing things out there that those negative things that are out there shouldn't sort of stop you from going out of body. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that we are indestructible. We are not fragile when we go out of body. The other day I was in a dimension where I was witnessing a fight and there was some sort of police force fighting some other people. I don't know what it was exactly, but as soon as I saw that, I ended up just in the middle, because a lot of times when you focus on something, you just arrive there because your focus is there. And this astral police officer of some sort started to attack me, started to punch me. And the punches went through me like nothing. I couldn't feel anything. It wasn't hurting me. There was no pain. There was nothing. It was just strange, a bit strange.
So I've had dreams where someone's fighting me and I either I don't feel it or I can't hit them. Right. But I've always known it was a dream. Now, what you talked about before the break, you said that it is a definite palpable difference from a dream. You were there, more real than real almost is what you said. So these punches, when he was hitting you and it was just going right through you, it wasn't a dream. You were there. That astral cop was there and he was throwing punches at you and you just weren't feeling it. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around how that could.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your hand around it. Well, I think what it could be, what would help is think about it as like we are physical right now. We're in a physical body, and when we touch things in the physical, these objects in the physical, they're vibrating at the same frequency, so they're solid to us. We cannot put our hands through the table. It's a hard surface. But when we are out of body in this non-physical format, like I can touch my table in my room, and I can actually put my hand through the table. I can still feel that it's an object. I can feel the surface of it. But if I press, I'll actually be able to put my hand through it. So we are a bit like a ghost, but not a ghost like made of air that just kind of like just disappears and appears. It's a bit more solid, but it depends on the frequency that you're occupying, the dimension that you're in, the vibrations of that dimension and the vibrations of the body that you're having in that moment. It is complicated stuff for sure.
If he was punching and his hands were going through you, were you maybe in a physical dimension where he was like we are now here? Does that make sense? So like he couldn't put his hand through the table sort of thing, but since you were astral, he could put his hand through you. Does that make sense at all?
It does.
I'm asking.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't know everything. Like, I don't know why his hand went through me. I was surprised. But I also know that sometimes I got a body and I have a body, and sometimes I don't have a body.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes I look down and there's nothing. And I'm just a point of awareness in space. And sometimes I have a body. Sometimes I look myself in the mirror and I see something. I see someone, not necessarily me. Sometimes it can be a different me in a parallel dimension. It's
Wow.
weird.
It's
Sometimes
so
I can
cool.
see myself. It's cool. Yeah. Sometimes I look myself in the mirror, but I see through me. I'm seeing the background as if I don't even exist. What I've seen is that a lot of times when I look at my hands, which is one of the reality checks, is to look at your hands to see if if you have 5 fingers, because then okay, if you have 5 fingers and they look normal, for the most part, you're going to be in the physical. But if you have weird looking fingers, then you are most likely in a non-physical environment. Now, what often happens to me is that when I take out my hands, I don't even have hands. I'm used to it from the physical, from being a human, that I'm supposed to have hands. But in the non-physical, I do like this and I don't see them. But because I'm focusing on having hands, I can see how they start to grow out. So I can see my palm growing out. I can see my fingers popping out one by one, and then I have hands because I projected them. We can create things in these dimensions with your consciousness. Your consciousness is extremely creative in that. And that kind of brings me to that other point I wanted to make about the original question, which is entities and all that.
Yep.
Your consciousness is going to be a very important sort of starting point for your experiences. The background you have, your knowledge, the way you see reality, your state of being is going to have a massive impact. So if you're somebody that has a lot of fear, if you're someone that has been consuming a lot of fearful content about astral projection, or you're super religious and you think this is a sin and that the devil's going to come after you, or that there's demons coming after you, it's very possible that you're going to create that kind of experience for yourself, because your consciousness isn't separate from the experiences. You can see that in the physical. You can see how in the physical manifestation works like that. You can focus on something like a car, or I don't know, something that you want to happen, and then that would then appear in your physical reality, usually with some sort of delay. Usually take maybe hours, weeks, years for you to manifest the thing that you've been focusing on. Now, in these non-physical realities, you can manifest things very quickly. They just happen very instantly.
Right. So it goes back to always creating our own reality. And in that world, there is no veil. So you can manifest much more immediately than you can in this three-dimensional world. So I will take the answer about whether there are dark entities out there as a check. Yes, there are. First, but it's really dependent on your mindset. So if that's such a thing, and I totally get why there would be entities like that, how do you protect it? Well, you mentioned that we were indestructible, so it really is is there a need for protection, or is there something we need to do or prepare ourselves other than think good thoughts before we start doing this stuff?
Well, yeah. So there's so much to say about this. So one of the things is that thinking good thoughts doesn't necessarily work, because you can think good thoughts on the surface, on the conscious level, but on the subconscious level, you might have a lot of fears and limiting beliefs and all kinds of stuff lingering there, which you might not know of, or you might know of if you kind of go deeper with yourself. So it's very important to deal with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. To be honest, when I learned about these things, when I learned about astral projection, the first experiences I had were very pleasant. There's nothing negative about anything. I started to have more weird experiences when I started reading about the weird stuff online. That's when I started to have more weird experiences. And I've seen that there is a connection between the things that you think, the things that you worry about, your fears, and the experiences that you will have. And I've also started to see how there's this mechanism of consciousness to take you on a spiritual journey, to get you to heal, to get you to evolve. And you know how consciousness works. Like as soon as there is fear in your physical reality, then consciousness arranges itself so that you can face that fear, so that you can overcome that fear, so you can heal that fear. We are constantly taken on a journey of healing. And so it's the same in these other realms. If you have a bunch of fears or worries, you will be taken onto experiences that will challenge those fears and will essentially help you to it's that they're made so that you're supposed to overcome them. You're supposed to kind of look at them and kind of laugh at them. See a demon that's trying to attack you, and instead of being like, oh my God, it's real, I'm going to die, you're just kind of like, I don't believe in you, go away. And they kind of vaporize.
Apparently, our dog wants to get involved in the conversation as well. Probably saw one of the entities and he's trying to ward it off right now.
Well, they say animals are very sensitive.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So what you're saying makes so much sense. Now I just wish I had not read Bob Monroe's book, because that's I hadn't thought of dark entities until I read his darn book. Now that's all I can think of.
Well, but it's okay, because, if the really cool thing about it is that, think about it this way. To me, the way I look at it is that physical reality is way more dangerous than non-physical realities. Why? Well, because in a physical reality, if you are in a situation that you don't want to be, if you're going down a dark alley and someone wants to rob you or do something bad to you, in that moment, in the physical reality, you're going to have to fight, or you're going to have to run, or it's tricky, and you can get hurt. You can even die. Maybe you get run by a car that hits you and you get really injured and your physical body dies, and game over in the physical realm. But if you're out of body having these experiences, which by the way, you're having all the time when you're sleeping anyway, unconsciously, when you are then, let's say, in a place that you don't want to be, maybe you're seeing some weird entity that is coming towards you or whatever, you can just think about returning back to the body. You can just think about your room, or think about, I want to go home now. And boom, within an immediate second, you're now waking up in your bed and you're completely safe and sound.
Right.
There's nothing bad happening to you.
Okay.
So any weird experience that you don't like, you can just come back into your comfort of your home in your pajamas and just be completely comfortable and safe. How often can we do that in the physical? You're in somewhere you don't want to be, and then you're just like, I want to go home. And then you're back in your house, safe and sound. That doesn't happen.
Nice.
You have to go home somehow, right? It would be nice. So we have superpowers when we're out of body. We can teleport, basically. We can fly. We can fly. We can go through walls. We can do things that we cannot do with our physical bodies. Because of that, we are sort of like superhuman and in this out of body state.
You have a question, Karen? You want me to go?
No, you can go ahead, because I know what you're going to ask. So go ahead.
Okay. That all sounds great. And sometimes I know that I'm at some certain parties and I really wish I was home. And
You
kind of have to
teleport.
Kind of have to be there, but you have to just sit there and bear it, especially some work functions. But that all sounds understandable. I get it.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
And I would like to, before you go on to the next question, I would like to just share a little story just to hit it home a little bit better for some people.
Okay.
Because there is not enough information about this stuff. There's a lot of misconceptions. So, a lot of times people see dark figures, and it can be very confusing and also can be very scary if you don't know what it is sometimes, right? So a friend of mine went out of body and in the kitchen saw this dark figure in the corner. And for the most part, most people will just get scared at that point and
thank you.
Come back to the body and just go, oh my God, there's a demon in my kitchen. I have to sell the house.
Yes, moving right now.
That's exactly what my thought process was.
In a hotel tonight.
Too bad we can't stay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, luckily, this guy had a very different mindset. He was very open-minded, which is one of the key things that you want to be with this. And he was like, there's a dark-looking figure in the corner of my kitchen. I wonder what it is. So he goes closer to this figure, and as he gets closer, he then realizes that because this darkness starts to kind of disappear, and he now sees clearly what it is, and it was his son. And his son was having an out-of-body experience while he was sleeping in the other room. And now he's having an interesting conversation with his son, a little kind of back and forth daddy and son kind of conversation. And it's a beautiful experience. The next day he wakes up from the experience and he's like, oh my God, I had this experience. Goes and talks to his son. His son didn't remember anything of that, unfortunately. But for him, that was a beautiful experience. So he came back from that experience going, oh my God, this was amazing. I met my son out of body in the kitchen. This was beautiful. And the only difference, if you look at this, like the difference is what filters you put on to the experience. Do you go into fear straight away because you don't know what it is and you discard it as something scary? Or do you go into like open-mindedness and you kind of go and find out what it is? And this is what happens a lot of times as well, that people just kind of freak out and they run away and they report something negative. A lot of times there can be something completely different than you think.
Right. So instead of going into it with fear, maybe your suggestion is to go into it with curiosity. That makes sense.
Yes. Curiosity, open-mindedness, love. So one of the things that we do with our students is before the practice, well, in the practice, when they're starting the process, is to focus on filling themselves with love, so that raises their vibration to this frequency of love. And it's also one of the protective mechanisms that you can use when you're out. If you are experiencing like some sort of negative entity that you don't want to talk to, you can project your love out to that being or fill yourself with love. And for the most part, they will just dissolve. They'll just kind of disappear away.
I love it. You're helping me to get over my fear. So maybe I can start doing this. This is good.
And that's a great tip for anybody listening too. If they're kind of starting to explore a little bit, just, fill yourself with love. And besides feeling good, it'll protect you as well.
All right, Florentin, let's get to the nitty of it. Now that we're getting closer to the end of the show, what's the best way for someone to experience something as miraculous as an out-of-body experience? What's the best way?
Well, the best way I would say is to work with somebody that has done it and that can show you the way, because it is a confusing journey. And as you can tell by this just conversation, there's so many details to it. So if you're trying to figure this out on your own, you're most likely going to get stuck quite a few times on the journey. So it's really helpful to have somebody that you're going to be spending time with, asking your questions, doing the practice, and then asking more questions. And that back and forth is really, really key, because this is it's a very serious practice. You don't want to just like throw yourself in there without knowing what you're doing. You want to have somebody help you with that process. So that's what I would say. Now, are you looking for to know some techniques or some tricks like that? Or
and I know that you teach a class on this. You've helped hundreds of people to achieve these results. And by the way, you're going to gain another student here shortly after the show. Oh, Karen. We're going to add the links to your program directly on the show notes. So if you're interested, just go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to his episode page. You'll see the link there directly laid in for you. So it's easy for you to access it. But if someone wasn't ready to reach out to you to talk to you about getting into your program, is there anything that you can provide, any tips on how to prepare themselves for doing something like this, or even maybe achieving a small modicum of success with it before reaching out to you?
So I would say before reaching out to me, there's nothing you have to do, because we work on everything from the beginning with the program that I've created. Because that was the whole idea. It was like, okay, I've discovered something amazing. I want to share this with the world. People don't believe me when I tell them about this. So the only way to share with them is to make them have the experience themselves by teaching them how to do it from the beginning. So I knew that I wasn't the gifted person when I started this. I wasn't a master meditator. And I know that the people I'm going to teach, or the way I thought about it, was that I want to teach someone like me that is not a gifted, superhero at this stuff, doesn't meditate for years. So how do I help that person from step one? What do they have to do? So we covered all of that with the program. And there's nothing you really have to do before that. In the program, we work on, in the beginning, we talk about what it is that you're going to do, how this stuff works, what to expect. And we talk about the mindset. We talk about different blockages they might have. And we work with healers and hypnotherapists to help you overcome some blockages that you might have. Like if you have a fear of going out of body, we need to work on that. You can't have that fear and practice it, because it's not going to work. You're going to stop yourself. Like your subconscious knows when you're ready for these different steps. And that's another thing that I didn't mention before, but it's almost like there is a safety mechanism built in place the whole time. You will not be taken too far if you're not ready for it. You'll only be taken to, as far as you're ready. So a lot of times people might have even fear to get out of body in the first place. And so if you have that fear, when you're in that state and you're starting to get close, you'll then feel fearful, and then it will stop. So you won't be able to get out if you have that fear. So then we incorporated, a solution to that, which is working with the therapist to help you overcome those fears so that you then can feel relaxed. And so you can get into this state. And then the program continues with videos on teaching you the 3 main methods of how to get out of body. The first method is a way to do it through dreaming, to become conscious that you're dreaming, and then you can transition from a dream into an astral projection. The second one is one of the more powerful one, which is when you're going to sleep, there is a special soundtrack that I've created that wakes you up just enough so that you can perform some sort of techniques that can then take you out of body from sleep, from waking up from sleep. And then the third one is, of course, through deep meditation, where you meditate yourself into this very, very deep state where you then can get out of body. So we teach all of these different methods, and we teach that with videos, and we have soundtracks, special soundtrack for each method. And then we have the coaching, of course, which is so key, because that's where you can ask questions, personal questions about your situation, how you are doing the practice, and how you have to change the practice so that it's more successful for you. So that's how the program works. And if you wanted to prepare anything for the program, if you still feel like, I still want to do some sort of work before this program, then I recommend watching our video. We have a video on the website that is about half an hour long that goes through a bunch of stuff like this. And another one is to meditate. To learn how to meditate, to learn how to concentrate your mind on one thing. Very important for the practice. That's how we get more control over where we go and what we do.
Great. Those are good starting points.
Great. So the very best way to learn how to astral project is to reach out to Florentin Ionita and join his accelerator program, because he's going to hold your hand and walk you through every step of the process safely. So people like me who are afraid of encountering entities or dark entities or beings that maybe don't want me out there, you can help us through it. So that's great. All right. I'm sold. You sold me. I'm on board. But we're going to add direct links to that program in our show notes, like I mentioned earlier. But we're also going to add links to your social media so people can reach out to you if they're so inclined. Go to skepticmetaphysician.com so you can connect with Florentin directly. If you have any questions about astral projection, he's the man to go to. You can certainly come to us, but we're not going to be able to answer them. So
we'll tell you where to go.
Yes.
Or who to go to.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah, we're not going to say.
Let me tell you where to go. Now we'll tell you where to find some answers.
That's right. That's right. All right, Florentin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And looking forward to see you in the astral soon.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, awesome. We'll have a party.
Thanks for coming along on this journey of discovery with us. We'd love to continue our conversation with you on our website at skepticmetaphysician.com or on Facebook and Instagram under Skeptic Metaphysician Podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the messages we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it may just change someone's life for the better. And if you're listening to this on the radio and you missed something, well, not to worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found at skepticmetaphysician.com, where you can also watch the videos or even send us an email or voicemail directly from the site. We absolutely love feedback and would appreciate hearing from you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. That's all for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.